Meet Thales of Miletus, the man who asked the right question. Thales was born in the bustling port city of Miletus, on the coast of what is now Turkey, around 600 BCE. More than just a philosopher, he was a true original and one of the 7 sages of Greece. He wasn't remembered for tales about gods, but for his practical wisdom and brilliant, curious mind. His core philosophy. In a world where most people explain nature through myths and gods, Thales asked something different. What is the single basic thing that everything is made of? His answer was bold for the time. He believed everything came from water. This idea, known as monism, suggested that water was the fundamental substance of the universe. Thales noticed that water could exist as a solid, liquid, or gas, and that it was essential for all life. For him, the universe didn't need divine stories to make sense. It could be explained through natural causes and observation. Thales wasn't just a thinker. He applied his ideas to the real world. He studied astronomy, using the stars to help sailors navigate and to track natural cycles. He also loved geometry, not as abstract math, but as a tool to solve practical problems. With it, he measured the heights of pyramids and the distance of ships from the shore, proving that knowledge could serve everyday life. His notable ideas. Perhaps Thales's most famous claim to fame was predicting a solar eclipse in 585 BCE, a groundbreaking moment that showed science could predict nature. In mathematics, he contributed to geometry with theorems like the one that bears his name. If a triangle is inscribed in a circle with the diameter as one side, the angle opposite that diameter will always be a right angle. His legacy. In the end, Thales's most important contribution wasn't just the claim that everything is water. It was the deeper idea that the universe is a logical, understandable place, and that human beings can figure it out through reason and observation. He gave us the very first tools of scientific inquiry, laying the foundation for philosophy, mathematics, and science as we know them today. Step into the world of Anaximander, the man who created a boundless universe. Born in the bustling city of Miletus around 610 BCE, Anaximander was a brilliant philosopher and a proud student of Thales. Together they were part of the Milesian school, a group of thinkers who tried to explain the world not with gods, but with reason. Anaximander was so important that he became the first person in history to write a philosophical book. Beyond philosophy, he was also a man of action, involved in the politics of Miletus, and even sent as a leader to one of its colonies. His teacher had proposed that everything came from water, but Anaximander looked at his teacher's idea and thought, that's good, but it's not quite right. His core philosophy. Anaximander's core philosophy was that the source of all things wasn't a simple element like water, but something limitless and undefined. He called this the apeiron, which means the boundless or the infinite. He argued that if everything came from water, then water itself would be gone. So the origin had to be something that was endless and could never run out. He imagined a kind of formless cosmic chaos from which all things, heat and cold, wet and dry, separated to create the world. He also maintained that all dying things are returning to this apeiron, completing a great cosmic cycle. For him, the universe was not a neat, simple system, but a constant cycle of things coming into being and returning. He even speculated on the plurality of worlds, imagining that our universe was just one of many. His main interests. Anaximander was a thinker on a cosmic scale. His main interests were in cosmology and biology, which he approached with the same rational curiosity as his teacher. He wasn't afraid to imagine new models of the universe. He believed the sun, moon, and stars were fiery rings with holes in them, and that the Earth was a cylinder floating freely in space, held up by nothing at all. He also had a passion for geometry, and his knowledge allowed him to introduce the Gnomon in Greece, a simple but effective tool for measuring time and shadows. His notable ideas. Anaximander's most notable ideas changed how people saw the world. He is credited with creating one of the very first maps of the known world, which was a huge step in geography and understanding our place in it. He also explained that rain is from evaporation, a simple yet brilliant scientific observation for his time. But perhaps his most mind-blowing idea was about the origin of life. He proposed that humans and other land animals were born from fish-like creatures that came from the sea. This was a direct, rational explanation for the origin of species, long before anyone else dared to think that way. Anaximander's true legacy is his incredible ambition. He pushed us to look beyond simple answers and to embrace the vast, unknown questions of the cosmos. Say hello to Anaximenes, the philosopher of air. Born in Miletus around 586 BCE, Anaximenes was the last of the three great thinkers of the Milesian school, following Thales and Anaximander. He was a student of Anaximander and focused on refining the question his teachers had pioneered: what is the single basic stuff of the universe? While his predecessors offered water and the boundless apeiron, Anaximenes sought something simpler and more direct. His core philosophy: Anaximenes believed that the single primary substance, the ultimate reality, was air. He saw air as being everywhere, essential for life, and constantly changing. For him, the entire cosmos was like a living creature, and air was its breath. The universe was initially made entirely of air, and all other things, liquids and solids, were produced from it through condensation. He used this air-based system to explain the cosmos. He believed in a flat Earth that emerged as one of the first things to be condensed from air. Crucially, this Earth is kept afloat, supported by the enormous pressure of air underneath it, which also supports the surrounding celestial bodies. His main interests. Anaximenes' philosophical interests were focused on the deep-seated questions of reality and nature. His main areas of study were metaphysics. He sought to define the nature of ultimate reality, concluding it was air, a substance that was both invisible and tangible. Natural philosophy. He dedicated himself to explaining natural phenomena like weather, earthquakes, and the cosmos using only the laws of air. His notable ideas. Anaximenes provided the first clear, rational mechanism for how one fundamental substance could transform into all the things we see. His entire system rested on two ingenious concepts. Air is the arch first principle. He defined air as the arche, the basic building block, from which all other elements are derived. Matter changes through rarefaction and condensation. Condensation, making air thicker, causes it to become wind, then clouds, then water, then earth, and finally stone. Rarefaction, making air thinner, causes it to become fire. This provided a direct, observable scientific model. Everything you see is just air at a different pressure or density. His legacy. Anaximenes was the final torchbearer of the Milesian school, and his system was a huge hit in ancient Greece. But his real genius was in his method. He was the first philosopher to give a clear physical explanation for how one substance changes into another through condensation and rarefaction. He was all about the mechanism. His work, alongside Thales and Anaximander, marks the true beginning of Western science, pushing philosophy toward practical, observable models. He even pioneered a new style of scientific writing, using descriptive prose rather than poetry. His legacy is the gift of methodical, rational inquiry. Empedocles, the man of four elements and two forces. Meet Empedocles, born in the bustling city of Acragas, Sicily, around 490 BCE. He was a force of nature, a philosopher, a gifted poet, a political reformer, and some say a miracle worker who even claimed divine powers. He was a strict vegetarian. He presented himself as a daimon, a divine being who had achieved the most perfect human state and was destined for rebirth as an immortal, a belief tied to his great spiritual poem, Purifications. He also boasted of possessing magical powers, such as reviving the dead and controlling the weather. Living in the pre-Socratic era, he followed the single-element thinkers of Miletus. Though his style was dramatic, his ideas were foundational, drawing influence from the spiritual depth of Protagoras and the absolute existence proposed by Parmenides. Explaining his core philosophy. For earlier thinkers, the universe was either one thing, like water, or an undefined mystery, apeiron. Empedocles broke the mold. His core philosophy was pluralistic. He believed the world was built not on one substance, but on multiple, eternal building blocks. The biggest mystery for philosophy was change. How could something truly begin or end? Empedocles solved this by arguing that things never truly perish. They just mix and separate. Change is simply the rearrangement of eternal matter. His main interests, Empedocles was fundamentally interested in metaphysics, defining the nature of reality, and natural philosophy, explaining the physical world. His great innovation was providing the cosmic mechanism that makes the universe move. The two mighty opposing forces he named, love, philia, and strife, nikos. Love brings the elements together to create everything we see, forming harmonious wholes. while strife tears them apart, leading to destruction and chaos. The entire history of the universe is an endless, dramatic cycle of these two forces battling for dominance. Notable ideas. His most famous and enduring contribution is the concept of the four classical elements: earth, air, fire, and water. He called them the four roots. Everything in the universe, from a rock to the clouds, is simply a different combination of these four unchanging roots, mixed together in various proportions by love and strife. This system also led him to an early version of evolutionary theory. He proposed that during the initial cycles of cosmic mixing, bizarre, incomplete creatures were formed at random, like floating limbs or heads without necks. Only those combinations that worked, that were stable and functional, were able to survive and reproduce. Empedocles showed the world that even destruction and chaos were necessary parts of an eternal, repeating, and knowable cosmos. Introducing Protagoras, the man who made you the measure. Born in Abdera around 490 BCE, Protagoras was not just a philosopher. He was the first and most famous of the sophists. These traveling intellectual rock stars of classical Athens sold their knowledge, teaching young, ambitious men the practical skills needed to thrive in democracy. While he may have studied under Democritus early on, Protagoras' fame came from his revolutionary ideas on human knowledge and his mastery of rhetoric. He made hundreds of thousands of dollars selling an education that promised political power and civic success. Explaining his core philosophy. Protagoras is famous for one simple but earth-shattering statement: man is the measure of all things. This is his core philosophy, known as relativism. What did he mean? He meant there is no single, fixed, objective truth out there handed down by the cosmos or the gods. Instead, truth is relative to the individual. If the wind feels cold to you, then the wind is cold. If it feels warm to me, then it is warm. This applies to ethics and morality as well. What is right or just is determined by the community, not by an absolute law. This idea completely shifted the focus of philosophy from the stars and elements to human experience and judgment. Main interests. Given that truth was relative, Protagoras' main philosophical interests centered on the tools humans use to shape their world. Rhetoric, the central skill he taught. Since one opinion is not inherently truer than another, the ability to persuasively argue for your opinion is everything. He taught his students how to sway popular opinion and dominate legal and political debates. Ethics and politics. He focused on making people into good citizens by teaching them civic virtue. He believed virtue was teachable, and his goal was to equip individuals with the practical skills needed to lead a successful and honorable life within their society. Notable ideas. Protagoras' ideas were so powerful they often landed him in controversy. He taught the concept of making the weaker argument appear stronger. This means being able to successfully argue for both sides of a case, which was invaluable for Athenian lawyers but seen as morally corrupting by critics like Plato. His view on the gods was equally shocking. He was the first prominent agnostic, stating, "Concerning the gods, I have no means of knowing whether they exist or not, nor of what sort they may be." This frank uncertainty about the divine led to his exile from Athens and, legend holds, his book being publicly burned. Protagoras' legacy is the gift of humanism. He taught us that our minds, our perceptions, and our ability to persuade are the ultimate tools for building our world, our values, and our reality.